Okay guys, welcome to the next Blender tutorial. I hope you guys are doing well. So, it's been a few days since I last posted my last one. I've had a few issues going on in my personal life, so I've just I've just had to go deal with things. But I've been trying to post every single day, whether it's clips or whether it's something else. So today we're going to be making a sword and a sheath as well. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and shrink down my webcam right here. Boop, 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 boop. So I sit nicely in the corner. We're working on cycles. So just go to your render engine right here, change out the EV to cycles. So, depending on your sword design and what you would like and what era it's from, depends on how your project is really going to look. I'm going to go ahead and just delete the default cube to begin with. Also, I got some new recording software as well because I was having some problems with that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a mesh. We're going to go with cylinder. That's going to be the handle. So I'm just going to go ahead and just shrink that down just slightly. Press G just to bring it up. Just make sure that it's central whilst you're making everything so that everything stays where it should do. Excuse me. Let's shade this smooth to begin with. We're just going to scale this upwards. Now it's pretty big to begin with, but you can scale it downwards if you'd like. For me personally, I'm just making this a little bit bigger so that you guys can see what's going on. To be honest with you, that might be a little bit too long for a handle for a sword. You can go ahead and adjust your sizing for whatever you need, really. So usually what I would do is put little bumps on this. I go to like the edit mode and then I'd subdivide everything and put little bumps on it. To be honest with you, I like adding things to this stuff. I think if you put all of your eggs in one basket and you edit just a little bit, it can kind of mess up the mesh a little bit, and I find that you don't have the ability to kind of accessorize things more, if that makes any sense. So what I'm going to do, add a cylinder. So it's like, say, for example, right, I have this as a grip for the sword. I can move this anywhere that I'd like to move it. If I took this and then I edited it, and I don't know, for example, don't copy this part, but if I took this part and this part, and then I went E for extrude, you know what I mean? It's like, that's going to be technically there permanently. So I'm just going to backtrack on that so there's nothing selected. So I'm just going to right click, shade this one smooth. So if you have objects separate from things, basically what I'm trying to say is if you have objects separate from things, you can customize at will. Compared to if it's just one object, you're going to be clicking a lot of different things and it's going to be time consuming. So I'm just going to go ahead and just scale this down just a little bit. And then just scale it up at the end. And we're just going to make a little basic kind of grip just at this point of the sword. So we'll take one of these. I'm just going to make it slightly bigger because we're going to put a sheath underneath this. So if you go Shift D, scale this out. Just scale it inwards ever just so slightly. And then, oh sorry, ignore the A. And then we're going to press S, scale it upwards. To be honest with you, a side view might be great for this. Just for you guys, so you can see what's going on. Also, I had someone as well ask me whether I could do a request. I think it was a voodoo doll. Yeah, I'm working on it because I had like an idea for the voodoo doll that I wanted to make. And then I was kind of like, well, what do I want to put on it? I kind of want some material, I want some textures, and I was kind of like racking my brain. And then I was thinking like stitches. Like, how can we make stitches into this as well? Because that would look really cool. So bear with me on that one, I am working on it. Coming back to the sword, we're going to go G, bring this down, just use your blue marker right there, which is the axis. We're just going to go ahead and just put this right here. This one right here, press G, bring it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a material to this before we start duplicating things. So we've got the material right here. We're going to go to this drop down menu. Actually, let's put new. Let's put new to begin with. We'll call this one gold. You want principal BSDF, and you want to go for a nice orangey red. Just kind of get that sweet spot. Like a yellow, orangey red, kind of. Just there. Turn your metallic all the way up, and turn your roughness down, but don't go all the way down. So you've kind of got this mirror kind of shine, but it's not completely shiny. So, let's go back to this mode right here. What I'm going to do is take this, just going to make this a little bit bigger so it's the end of the sword. And then I'm going to go Shift D, duplicate this down, shift it, scale it down. We're going to go G, bring this up. So that's going to be the end of the sword, and you can put a little decoration on there. We're going to go Shift D. Now, if you press 1, it'll go up. But if you minus that off, you put -1, it'll go down. So let's go Shift D, make sure that you're on the axes. Center scroll button right here so you can get onto the Z one. We're going to go -1, Shift D, and then we go -1 again, Shift D, -1, Shift D, -1, and you're going to go all the way down until you reach just about the end here. Now when you do reach the end of the grip right here, you can actually take this one and this one. You go Shift D. What you want to do is you want to rotate it. So we see that we've got the handle of the sword right there. You're going to go ahead and we're going to go R for rotate. Make sure that it's on one of the axes. It doesn't matter whether it's this one or this one. And we're just going to press, I think, 180. So we just flip it over on itself. So press G, bring it down. So now we have this nice little handle going on for our sword. In the middle, maybe we want to make this different texture, so we can go new. We can go ahead with shiny black. And then later on, we can make this kind of a leather kind of look as well. We can get some Veroni on there, we can get some texture on there. I'll show you how to do this in the end. Usually what I like to do is put all of the materials on first and then do everything else in the background. So, what we'll do, we'll just make this a nice shiny black, as it says on the tin. So we've got this nice little shiny black with the gold. I think that'd be alright actually. Looks quite nice. Right, so I don't know whether you watch the rest of my videos, but if you're ever making textures, to keep everything standardized within one object so that everything is the same texture, what you want to do, go down to this drop down menu right here. So now you've got the gold, you've got the original material, and you've got shiny black. So say if you made the sheath for the sword and it's a separate object, you can go down to this little drop down menu right here and you will find your shiny black, your gold, and your original material. And you can just assign those materials to whatever you'd like. If you want certain things to have those materials, go into the edit mode, select certain faces, press plus, which is over here, just at the side right here, and you should get another material appearing right here. All you need to do is make sure that you click assign at the bottom, and then that will change whatever you've selected into that material. So, we will go and we'll make a little bit of a little bit of a top to this. So what I'm going to do, so the original colour that we've got right here, the original kind of what would you call it? Not matrix, but the original cylinder that we've got here, we can take that downwards just a little bit. So we can actually make this kind of a silver just to hide it. Just a little bit darker right there. So you can tell that there's something underneath the actual handle. So it's the little details. So just going to go ahead and just make that slightly bigger. I might actually pull this at the bottom upwards just a little bit. So, place it just about here. And I'm going to go ahead and add a circle. Just press G, bring it up. And what I'm going to do, go to edit mode, we're going to press F for fill, E for extrude. And what you want to do is just scale it outwards just on the outside. So if we look at the side version right here, we can see that we've got this little angle going on. So I'm just going to place it right here so you guys can see what's going on. We're going to go E fret extrude, bring it up. And then E fret extrude, and then what you want to do is just scale it inwards. It doesn't matter if this side is shorter than this side, it gives it a little bit of character, but if you do want that to be the same height, just count how many squares you are from the end. So we can see that on this end we're 1 square off, on this end we're 3 squares off. So if you wanted that equal, so to speak, you could just count your squares. So we're actually 4 squares in this side, 4 squares in this side. So that, in theory, should be the correct length, because you've got 1 on this side, 2 on that side. Totally up to you if you want to do it like that. We can go E fret extrude again, scale this just inwards, and then we can go E fret extrude, bring it down, scale inwards, and then E fret extrude just to finish off that loop. Now, we've got this little problem of we have this surface right here. So how do we get the loop coming through on this side? Well, kind of an easier way than sculpting. So the way that I've done it right here, you can sculpt it round if you want to and then join all the vertices together. Alternatively, if you're not very good at joining things together at the moment, you can take the top and the bottom faces right here. If it'll ever let me select this. So bottom face right there, top face right there. We press delete. And then we can go faces, and then we can press A, and we can go E fret extrude, and we can kind of scale it in like that. So now you've got this little loop going on. The only problem is this is now inverted rather than on the outside. So what I would suggest is, let's take this bottom face right here. Oops. You could also use a donut to do this, but to be honest with you, sometimes it warps. So if we take the top and the bottom faces right here, we just delete them off. We go into this selection right here. Select this. Oops. Select all the way around the edges, sorry. Go E fret extrude. Scale it inwards. Just press G, bring it down. And then E fret extrude, bring it downwards. Now what you can do at this point, you can actually go to the X-ray mode, which if we just scroll across right here, you got the X-ray mode right there. So now we can see what we're doing on the inside. So what you want to do is try and link up this to this. So we're going to go E fret extrude again. Scale outwards. So now you can see that this is slowly getting to the bottom right here. So in theory, what we can do, and this is like the tedious bits, this is how someone else taught me how to do this. So we can take these 2 faces right here and we just press F for fill. These 2 faces, F for fill, and you can even include the 3rd face, F for fill. And this is how they taught me to do it. So this is another way that you can do this. If you don't want to do it this way, you can do it the first way. But this is like a lot more control over what you're doing, really. I mean, the donut idea is even better. If you go to the let's go to object mode. If you go to add, you've kind of got the torus kind of donut thing. I mean, you could use that if you wanted to. That's totally up to you. I'm just gonna go ahead and really quickly do this. Oops. So for the voodoo doll idea, I was thinking doing stitches and also kind of integrating some maybe procedural materials and stuff. And I want to get it right for the actual tutorial itself, because it's a lot of little fiddly bits of work. It's a lot of concentration and just making sure that you've got everything where it should be. And I really don't want to mess it up for you guys, because I don't want to get halfway through a tutorial and then realise, oh my gosh, I messed this whole thing up. You know what I mean? So for me, to get it right for you is the best thing. So this is why I'm taking a little bit longer on it, just kind of having to think, what do I want to do? What kind of style do I want? Because my style personally is kind of like a cartoon style. But maybe somebody wants a different style, I don't know. yeah, I mean, like, I'm just going to go through different things, see what works, see what doesn't, and then come to you with a final kind of project. See if it works for you. Let's see. Yeah, this is going to take me a while. I don't think this was the best idea for me to do. I think I should have shown you this example first and then gone on something else. Right, hold on. We're nearly there. Gosh. My video editor's going to have a field day. Yeah. But I think because I'm talking about stuff at the moment, you know, probably not going to edit this out. So, last one, and just select them all, and then F5. So now we've got this nice little ring going on. I'm going to go objects mode, and then shade smooth. We'll rotate this round about 90 degrees. And I'm just going to go ahead and just make the loop a little bit oblong kind of thing. And just sit it right there. So with this one as well, you can actually add the gold if you wanted to. And you can also make it look like it's inset as well. So this is just slightly off for some reason. I think I moved it. So I'm just going to realign it just there. You can see that it's just slightly off. So press G. Oops. Make sure that you've got the ring selected and then press G. So that's in the middle. You can take this middle part right here. Instead of the shiny metal, we could just go with gold. Kind of matches everything. And then we can take this ring again, and we can go Shift D, and then scale it inwards, so you can kind of have this really kind of posh ring going on. Scale it upwards. And we just scale it just inwards, just slightly as well. So I've got this nice little posh handle just at the end. So what I'm going to do with this one, I think, I'm going to make another loop as well, just on the end. Scale this down. You kind of have it quite a posh little handle on the end of the sword. So when we get to this part right here, what we want to do is we want to go with cube. I'm just going to go with G right there. Maybe, let's see, it looks like Thor's hammer at the moment. Let's just scale this one outwards. Make sure that you're just staying in the same lines so that you're on the grid. So this will be the handle for the sword. So what we're going to do, just bring that up. And it's going to be a little bit fiddly, but once we've got all this done, should be fine. Just press G, bring it down. Just make sure both of these sides, scale them outwards, are at the same kind of, they're mirrored, basically, essentially. So, what I'm going to do, I'm just trying to figure out, like, maybe we'll start off with a box, somewhat, and then we're going to go E fret extrude, leave it where it is, scale it outwards. Scale down just ever so slightly, and then E fret extrude, scale it outwards. And to be honest with you, we could just make it a bit thinner at the edges, thinner as you go, just to about there. I'll scale it inwards just here, and then E fret extrude, leave it where it is, scale it outwards, and then we're going to go ahead and just scale inwards again. So you've got that nice little curve on the sword just at the sides. Just take all these faces on this side, and then take all these faces on this side, Shift Control, E fret extrude, leave it where it is, scale it inwards, and then we're going to scale it inwards on this side as well, and then we're going to go E fret extrude again, leave it where it is, and then scale inwards. So now we've got this nice little bevel going around the edge, and we've also got this nice little pattern. So we could go scale inwards again. E fret extrude, leave it where it is. Scale inwards. And then we could go E for extrude and then just bring it back out again. Oops. Sorry. Scale should... If you go that way, there you go. See both sides are moving outwards now. So now we've got this nice little handle. I think that's a little bit too big, but I'm just going to shade it smooth maybe. Yeah, I don't know about shading it smooth. If you want to shade it smooth, you can do. Just make it a little bit bigger on that handle right there. And then we're going to go for the gold. Let's make sure everything's central. So it's a hand guard at the end of the day. You want it nice and thick around the edges, but not too thick that it's going to look heavy. So, making the sword side of things, it's just literally, let's take a cube. My gosh, I'm going to have to move this up. Let's scale this outwards. We're just going to shade this in. Scale this in even. Let's go with edit. Just make a nice little edge right there. And then just press G, bring it down. Now usually the swords are just a little bit bigger than the handles. So, just going to scale this outwards. Just ever so slightly and then bring it back down again. And then we want to shade smooth. So right at the end here, usually, depending on what type of sword you have, English swords tend to be pointed, Japanese swords tend to have a little bit of a curve at the end. This one's more of a European style. So what I'm going to do is E for extrude, and then we're just going to scale it inwards. So it depends really what kind of model you're making of the sword. I think, I'm just looking at my notes and a few pictures of old swords. I think roughly you could get away with that. And then we could take this and we can make this a new material. We'll go with silver side. We'll make this a nice little metallic. Take down your roughness. When you go into the shader tab afterwards, you can actually add a Veroni texture to this, which will give you little marks on the sword as if it's been hit and it's been struck over the years. Also, with many blades, you'll have a little rivet right here. So if we go into just this mode for 2 seconds, I just go Control R. We're just going to go ahead and roll the center scroll wheel on your mouse. And then take this and this one at the other side. And you can go E for extrude, or you could just go ahead and scale them together. So they're dinted just a little bit in the middle right there. I don't know whether I can actually tell you, because obviously child friendly kind of, it's supposed to be child friendly at least, but there's the ridge in swords and various other things for certain uses. So yeah, I won't go into details of what it is, because I don't want YouTube to start going, oh, that's a bit child unfriendly. But yeah, there's a reason why they exist. So I'm just going to change the lighting into a sun so we can see what's going on. And you can see that you can't see the blade very well right there. So what we're going to do is just add a plane. Let's scale this out. It's very mirrored. This is the reason why we can't see it. So I'm just going to turn the strength down to 20. I think that would work. There we go. So let's go with 10 actually. See it a little better. Actually, no. The suns are really bright in this. I'm just going to take down this metallic and just dull it a little bit. So now we have this nice little sword going on. You can add some patterns if you wanted to and some colours onto this as well. So if you go to edit mode, say like you wanted, I don't know, a stripe down the middle of it, per se, let's go plus. And then we can go with a red or something, assign it, like a metallic red. Or maybe we could go with a blue. You have a little blue stripe down the outside, if you wanted to do that. So I'm just going to remove it off mine just for the moment. Alright, so once we get to this point, we're going to need to make the sheath. So the sheath is generally pretty easy. So if we go to add, and then we go to cube, and just bring this up. What you want to do is just follow the kind of curve of the guard right here. Most swords, the guard sticks out over the top of it. Yeah, I'm going to get mine as close as I can to this. What I'm going to do, edit mode. Let me just bring this down. So, if we go with this as being the base, what I'm going to do, press G, bring it down. Just going to put on the X-ray mode for 1 second. I'm just going to go ahead and scale it down to just about here. Now usually they're rounded off at the bottom, so we'll go from here, E for extrude, scale it inwards, E for extrude, scale it inwards, E for extrude, scale it inwards. We could go Control R, scale this inwards a little bit so it fits the sword. Control R again, scale this inwards just a little bit so it fits the sword again. And then we can take this face at the top. And then I'm just going to scale this one just ever so much inwards. And what we want to do is make this a little bit more rounder. So we're going to go Control R. Just pull this out just at the side right here. And then I'm going to go Control R again. And on the front here, I'm just going to make it a little bit more rounder. Oops. And then what I'm going to do is select everything. Just scale it inwards ever so slightly just so it sits and fits. And then we should have, when we come off X-ray mode, a basic sheath. So if we shade smooth, we could do this one as shiny black. So now we have the sword, little sheath. So we're not quite finished just yet. So now what we can do, we can go ahead and we can add, although you could add things if you want to, or you could change the actual sheath itself. So we've got a couple of intersections right there, you can see right there. So I'm just going to press J to bring that down. So we can go into cube, just bring this up. And now this is your base right here, and all you need to do is just put your cube over the top of it and just make sure that everything sits and fits. So we're going to go to edit mode. You could have this rigid if you wanted to, you could have it curved. Oops. E for extrude. I'm just going to go ahead and just scale this inwards. E for extrude, scale inwards. It doesn't matter if it intersects at this point because you're just kind of making a fancy kind of thing for it. So we can go E for extrude, bring this up, and then I could go just split this a little bit. Take these three faces down. So if I just go to that side, sorry, 1 second. So you want this to curve just under here of where your guard is. So I'm just going to select this one at the side, this face at this side, and just bring these down just to where they need to sit. So now we have this nice little top. And what we can do with this is we can take these faces right here. So I just turn this off and the X-ray mode. So face selects these ones across the sides here. Face selects these ones across the side here. And we can go E for extrude, leave it where it is, scale it inwards. E for extrude. You go ahead and scale inwards again. It doesn't matter if this intersects at the moment. You go E for extrude, scale inwards, and then we can go E for extrude, scale outwards. Oops. Let's put this on the X-ray mode. E for extrude, and then scale outwards. So now kind of got this little shield going on. If you didn't like it like that, you can just scale it outwards a little bit more. And what I'm going to do is, let's go into edit mode a moment. Just Control R, scale that side outwards just a little bit. And you can also take these faces right here if you didn't like the intersecting clip. Let's see, let's take this off X-ray. Select all of those. Go ahead, select all of these. So that you've got everything around the side, and you can go scale. And you can bring these back out just as such. And you can actually scale these inwards if you wanted to as well. So you've got this nice little fancy pattern. I don't know what's happened with that one. Ah, I accidentally selected something that I shouldn't have. Right, 1 second. Right, all of those selected. Let's scale it out to there. Scale it inwards. Scale it back a little bit maybe. So you've got this nice little pattern going on. Shade it smooth. And then we could go with gold for that one. For the sheath, so it matches the actual sword itself. And with this we could also do rings if you wanted to as well. So let's see, if we take the sheath itself, let's just experiment here. So Shift D, scale it outwards, and then scale this downwards just a little bit. Press G, bring it down. We could in theory have a nice little pattern coming down the side just here. Let's try this out. Press G, bring this up. Shift D. Oops. Come on. We can go Shift D again. Shift D. I just kind of make a little pattern. You can make whatever you'd like on here. So now, selecting the sheath, so all you need to do is just click all these bits that you've just made. We can now press G and separate it from the sword. So now we've got a sword and a sheath. I mean, you could do this in any style really. This is just kind of a quick example of what you could do with it. You got your own style and stuff. But yeah. That's the sword, the sheath, and that's the end of the tutorial. So, yeah, if you liked, please subscribe, do all that jazz. Really helps out the channel as well. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.